Do you think Trump's going to leave office?
I mean, the Constitution says he is.
Do you think he will?
The Constitution says he is.
But do you think he will?
I don't have a crystal ball.
Do you think he'll leave office?
I do.
Do you think he'll leave office?
I do.
You do? Okay.
I have more confidence after last week's Learning Resources Supreme Court opinion that we saw two justices who Trump appointed who basically defied a policy that was the signature of his second term, his campaign, his tariffs, and saying that you don't have that power. I was emboldened. I would have been more pessimistic, but after seeing that, it gave me a little bit more hope that there is still sort of guardrails and separation of powers. It's still a thing.
What do you think happens next in the region?
I'm with Andrew. I think 3 to 4 weeks is the timeline I see for the actual kinetic war. And then after that, every one of these Iranian leaders, whoever's left, whoever steps in and fills a role of whether it's a military junta that takes over, whether it's a symbolic supreme leader, these are all marked men. They're all going to be targeted for. There's
By who?
By Israel, by pretty much anybody that considers them enemies, even maybe now some of the Arab states for that matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't pay to be a political or religious figure in Iran. So at this point, I think what we're going to see in the months to come is a slow fracturing of that support. And I'm not surprised if we start seeing defections from the IRGC and people, just like we saw during 1979, saying, you know what, it's not worth it. There's nothing. There's no long-term gain here, because this regime has lost any credibility domestically. There's none left, zero. And it's losing credibility in the region. It violated an unspoken agreement with its Arab neighbors that they don't directly fight each other in this way. And its allies, so-called allies, have abandoned it. It has nothing left. So when you have nothing left, what is there to fight for? That's why, but that's going to take a few months up to a year to play out.
What is the most important thing that we should have talked about that we didn't talk about, Andrew, as it relates to all of the stuff we've talked about today?
I think for me, what I always come back to is what is the future for the average American?
What is at the heart of your concern? Because it sounds like you're saying that this wasn't the right time to do this. And so what are the unintended consequences that you're foreseeing?
So there is a domino effect that happens with every decision that the United States makes. And now that we have essentially taken this military action against a sovereign country, it opens the door for all sorts of other countries to just unilaterally choose when they're going to take action against another sovereign. We have created more opportunity for more rogue nations, which is a greater abandonment of an international community, which destabilizes our global trade, our economics, our sense of personal security. The Americans are less secure now than they were 4 days ago. They're targeted now more than they were 4 days ago. And if we are coming to the conclusion that we need to make things worse before we can make things better, that's a conversation I guess we can have, the debate we can have. But with the crisis that we have here at home, with the concerns that exist, with the stated priorities.
What crisis here at home?
We have an economic crisis here at home, an immigration crisis here at home. We have a crisis of politics here at home. Like the United States is...
I would just say it's tribal warfare here at home. I mean, I watch it and it's just very, very, very dangerous. Keep going.
No. It's just now we have just exacerbated that even more. And we've exacerbated that more with an ally in the Middle East that just got done carrying out one of the most destructive in history against Gaza.
You brought up something. You talk about sovereignty with regards to the January 8th, the committed against the protesters. You said that basically it's their own people's self-determination. How does the international community deal with acts of state against its own people?
So we have a word for that, and it's called intrastate conflicts.
Okay.
Conflict inside of a state, a civil war.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The international community has no responsibility for stepping into a civil war.
So that was this is a great point. This is the debate that the 4 Allied powers had at the end of World War II when they were convening the Nuremberg trials. You had this idea that we don't have laws to account for how a country or state treats people within its own sovereign borders. The idea is that Germany could do what Germany did within Germany proper. Forget about occupied Germany. Within its own borders, it could mistreat anybody because that was German law. And the push was that that's not the world we want to live in anymore. We want to live in a world where basically nations cannot do that. to people. And that's where the basis of the Nuremberg tribunals came, and that's where we got international law of war crimes, crimes of aggression, genocide, so on and so forth. So the idea is that just because Iran is sovereign, we sit back and allow them to do that. It wasn't a civil war because one side was fighting with knives, machetes, assault rifles. The other side had spoons, wooden spoons, that kind of thing, right? It was so lopsided. It was such an abuse and a asymmetric battle.
Under the Clinton administration, we chose to not be part of the International Criminal Court. We pulled ourselves out of the very same conclusion that you're talking about.
Yeah, but Nuremberg was not, but there's also the ICJ. There's a UN framework that's independent from the ICC and the Rome Treaty. So all I'm saying is we do have international law that addresses what nations can do to their own people.
And we violated international law by attacking a head of state. So what is there's no continuity. There's no consistency. We choose to do what we choose to do. We choose to support what we choose to support, and we choose to abandon what we choose to abandon. And how do you make sense in a world like that? How do you predict the future? How do you manage even raising a family? How do you know where you can travel? How do you decide on investments? How do you can't?
That is a great point, and I think that's a point to be made here, is that there's an absence of the enforcement of law internationally, and it's victor's justice, and the dominant will essentially exercise whatever will they want. The law be damned.
Do you